Okay, our next presenter is Perry County Central High School. Please welcome them to the stage.
Alex, go back. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Hello, we are the team from Perry County Central High School. My name is Damian Haynes, this is Alex Haynes, and that is Nico Fugit. We are here to present our project, Native Kentucky. Our team's main goal is to give jobs to the unemployed in this area, as well as to inform non-native individuals about the indigenous cultures of Eastern Kentucky. From our research, we have concluded that about 10% of the population of Eastern Kentucky is unemployed. And that may not sound like much, but that is over 70,000 people in our area without jobs. It's always going to be an issue, unemployment. And with our restaurant museum, we plan to decrease the number of unemployed people in our region. We'll also be educating non-Indigenous people of the cultures that were brought in, well, from the cultures that were already in Eastern Kentucky before English settlers first came in. And some of the tribes that were in Eastern Kentucky were Cherokee, Chickasaw, Delaware, Shawnee, and Wyandot. Another goal of ours is to teach citizens about the importance of the coal fields that we are building on and those that have been shut down, because a lot of them have been used for not only our own gain, you know, building up Eastern Kentucky as a whole, but also for all the other businesses that have used that coal to further their own. As of 2010, there was around 442 operating coal sites in Kentucky, and in 2017, fewer than 4,000 underground mining sites. I'm not sure if this thing is there. Though the coal mining has provided many jobs for Eastern Kentucky citizens throughout all of those years, and it's been one of the main jobs.
Our team was lucky enough to get information about our site from Donald Rex Napier, who is an environmental scientist that works at the Kentucky Department of Reclamation, as well as being a licensed geologist and land surveyor. Our team also went to visit our site to take some useful pictures to help provide enlightenment on what our site looks like to help better describe what we're talking about today. Our chosen site was relatively flat and spacious, meaning that it'll take very little renovation to start up the multiple businesses that we hope to have planned in the future, as our plan suggests. The site is very easily accessible to customers. It can be seen from Kentucky Highway 80 and the road is very easily drivable despite it being gravel, which is a problem we can definitely fix in the future. Lucky for us as well, our site possesses a working water line, sewage system, and it's right next to some electrical wires, as well as a gas line being right in front of the site. This will save us tons of money. We were also informed by Donald Rex Napier that while mining, many native artifacts were actually found at the site, including various weapons and tools. Unfortunately, we do not know the exact location of where the artifacts are now due to land management protocols that forbid taking Native American artifacts from native land without a permit.
Unemployment is always going to be a problem in Eastern Kentucky. And that is the purpose of Native Kentucky. We plan to help fix that issue by creating our business. Yeah. As of 2020, unemployment rates have been skyrocketing, from the 1.8% in October all the way to the 7.4% according to the Kentucky Center for Statistics, an agency with the Education and Workforce Development Cabinet. Creating a business will allow for many other job opportunities, will create job opportunities, as well as encourage other businesses to come into the area due to the popularity, thus for helping the economy grow. We spoke to 68 entrepreneurs in our school in an attempt to see what they thought on it, and around 67% of them agreed with our ideas. It would definitely encourage other people to come in, open up other shops and things of the sort. Another issue in eastern Kentucky is the lack of indigenous awareness. There's a severe lack of Native American representation in eastern Kentucky, and that can lead to a lot of different problems, such as such as accidental racism. Generally speaking, it's better to be informed than not. According to the most recent American Community Survey, the Native American population in Kentucky is 8,156 at 0.7% of the total population of eastern Kentucky. The general lack of education about the people that used to live here can lead to a lot of problems, such as the previously mentioned accidental racism, among other various things. Another problem that our group has noticed is that a lot of people are not well informed about the coal sites, what they did, the types of coal they mined, what kinds of coal mines they were, and so on. Not many people, if very many at all, are very familiar with these things, and we hope to inform them and educate these people about the coal sites in our restaurant museum.
Native Kentucky offers employment opportunities for those that may be struggling to get a job in eastern Kentucky, such as young adults, minorities, so on and so on, that many other restaurants may not even consider hiring in the first place. Native Kentucky also helps to aim providing better representation for Native Americans in our region. People are able to come in and enjoy their food while educating themselves about the various cultures that still reside in eastern Kentucky to this day. Our team has took the liberty of speaking to many indigenous peoples about this restaurant and the concept to see their thoughts and opinions on it, to make sure we were not stepping on any toes cultural-wise, and that our restaurant could be used for educational purposes only. Another goal we have is to help lower to middle class families get affordable home-cooked meals at an average price, because a lot of the restaurants that all over the country, let alone just eastern Kentucky, have very high-priced meals that the average family just can't afford.
Native Kentucky will be mainly operating as a culinary establishment, but it will also be focusing on tourism, employment, and education. Native Kentucky is going to be doing a multitude of things, such as serving food, showcasing artifacts, paintings, and many other varieties of things. We'll be serving many different types of food as well that were originally from, Kentucky, eastern Kentucky specifically, such as acorn bread, fry bread, buffalo or beef stew, pine nut catfish, and baked pumpkin, to name a few. By operating as an affordable culinary industry, we want people to come feel relaxed, and enjoy themselves, learn things, or just as a get out of the house trip. We are fully aware of the potential drawbacks of starting up a business or a project such as this one, making a profit during the first few months, as well as employee benefits. But it is a risk we are willing to take, since there's always going to be a drawback in relation to projects such as this.
Most competition our business is likely to experience is the nearby Steak and Shake and Fazoli's that aren't a far distance from us, but we are well aware that our restaurant is capable of outperforming them. While Steak and Shake also serves decent meals with old-fashioned style and milkshakes, our cultural establishment plans to educate people on historical things as well as serving quality food, so we do believe we can outperform them. Fazoli's mainly focuses on Italian-themed food that most people can't get in Eastern Kentucky, but then again, most people can't get the types of food that we offer either, since they are Native American cultural dishes.
We believe that the people that do visit Native Kentucky will be facing a multifaceted experience. Some of the things you could do at Native Kentucky would be dining, learning, drinking for the mature audiences in later hours. And in the future, we hope to have indigenous people actually come in and, talk about who they are, the lives that they've lived, and their personal cultures. Native Kentucky is planned to be a very diverse experience that a lot of people haven't had before in restaurants or other things. And we plan to catch the interest of as many individuals as we can, and just to gather a relatively stable customer count.
To advertise our business, we plan to create various social media accounts such as Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. We believe this is the best way to advertise our business, since many Americans and Kentuckians use social media every day, and it's the most cheapest, convenient way to advertise. Most people on the internet see advertisements daily, ranging from 4,000 to 10,000 advertisements per day, which is quite a lot per person. The more people who see our advertisements, the more people that are likely to come to our restaurant, and which will in turn allow more people to learn about the history and whatnot we show at the establishment. In regards to what we would advertise, obviously our artifacts that we have obtained, the paintings that we have, the food we serve, and obviously the location of our restaurant.
Our business would initially start out as just a small-scale restaurant museum building, and we do expect to grow over time and expand. We plan to move to different regions and put businesses that talk about the history of those regions. We also plan to move westward to talk about their regions, because Western Kentucky has a lot of history similar to Eastern Kentucky, but vastly different in terms of history. As I've said, as we expand to the different regions, it would cover the history of those regions, and we plan to move to the west. I guess I already covered that part.
To establish Native Kentucky, our team will be utilizing the help of Perry County Tourism Commissions to help advertise our business. They are a very trusted organization in our county, Perry County, and they are very excited to work with us on this project. We will hope to be receiving an educational grant. The SBA's Office of Native American Affairs provides grant fundings to those in its 7 magnetic and technical assistant programs, and depending on your area, these grants can range up to $100,000. Our team has also decided to take out a loan and pay it back once our business is up and going, and we are earning money. With our circumstances, this shouldn't take very long at all.
The minimum cost for simply starting our business is $245,125, which is $90,000 for the framework and concrete pad. Flooring and its installations is $5 per square foot, shiplap being $1 per square foot, interior walls being $3 to $10 per square foot, insulation being 64 cents to $1.19 per square foot, with a total of $19,500. Oh.
Is your name Duncan?
Damien.
Damien, I'm sorry. I can't see that far. I apologize, Damien. I think I speak for all the judges. I just want to say how brave you are to come up and do a lion's share of the presentation. It appears that maybe you're not comfortable with public speaking, but I just want to applaud you for how you stepped up and took charge of the situation. So I just want to commend you on that, young man. Just a tip for you, if you plan to go on to college, any of you, you will have a lot more public presentations. So I really want you to become comfortable with that. And sometimes it's good, even I do this today, practice in the mirror. But I want to commend you on your bravery for going outside your comfort zone to do this. Also, just a tip, when you come into the room, if you look around the room, try to find 3 points, one on each, like over here to your center and to your left, and you can just kind of focus on those points. Because when you did your presentation, you were kind of looking down or looking at the screen, and this goes for all of you, but make sure that you at least focus on those points. That way it looks like you're engaged with your audience. Because you already have command of the material. Trust your practice, trust your knowledge, and just speak to those points. And then looking at the ugly guy like me won't throw you off or disturb you. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you for your bravery. A question. So, and I'm going to just talk about one thing. So before my role now at the bank, I was a loan officer. And when I review business plans, we talk a term called mission creep. And you say you want to be a restaurant, but then you want to be kind of a museum too. And so that worries me a little bit that, you know, trying to focus on two things will leave something left on the table. You won't be a master of one thing to really help your business grow. How would you respond to that? And then second to that, what do you perceive as your revenue mix? Am I making more money on the restaurant, more money on the education and museum part? How does that look?
We don't plan to have two separate establishments or buildings for our restaurant and museum. We hope to function like how Cracker Barrel or maybe Ponderosa did, having the paintings and artifacts on our walls around the restaurant area. So while you're eating, you can look and read the pamphlets we have underneath to educate yourself about the various things we have hanging up.
Your idea is innovative. I haven't thought about Native America in Eastern Kentucky. How did you come up with this concept? Are some of you Native Americans or have Native American heritage?
I'm indigenous. My dad's side of the family is 100% Native, and my grandmother's side of the family is half Native. And the racist stereotypes like the Indian mascots or using the word Indian for Native Americans is really common around here, and that's not the proper terminology, and it gives a bad look. So especially in an area like Kentucky and Virginia and all those places that had a large Native American presence, it's good to educate the citizens that live here now about those people that were once here and that still reside here.
You had a few pictures of your site in your presentation. Did you find any information about the mining history of your site?
We weren't able to obtain that much history about the mines. What we did obtain from Donald Rex Napier was mainly about the site as it is, but what we do know is it shut down because they just were running out of things to mine in the area.
So when you have a retail site, visibility is always key. That you may have heard a term, location, location, location. What's the visibility of this site from main roads or main centers of where people live, residencies?
Our site is almost directly across from East Perry, the middle school in our county. And it is a little bit down the Rays Road from the Daniel Boone Plaza, which has Walmart and Lowe's and a bunch of various stores in it. And you can see it directly from the road. Like as you pass by going into Knott County and Pikeville, as we are today, the traffic coming in and out from both counties, you will be able to see the establishment.
One thing I didn't see in your business plan that's really always germane to a retail location, do you have any idea what your traffic count is? How much traffic goes by that site?
The traffic count, we didn't necessarily look into research, but from us living there, we travel the road every day because Fazoli's and Steak and Shake is right across. So the traffic count, it's average. It's not low or anything, but it's not like high like Kentucky Highway 65 is.
As you all were conducting your research, did you learn about the Native Americans' history with the coal mining industry in eastern Kentucky, and may you be able to make any connections there between what you learned as their experience and what you showcase in your restaurant or museum?
Not particularly. Native Americans from a long time ago aren't necessarily associated with coal mines besides, the land they once inhabited that was taken over by English settlers and later on advanced into coal mines. Though my grandfather is partially Native and he's worked in the coal industry his entire life. That was his first job. It's his current job. He's in his 60s now. He's worked there his entire life, yeah.
Being a Native American yourself or partially, as our country goes through a lot of diversity and equity issues, from your standpoint in terms of your educational purpose for this project, what are some of the main themes that you want to get out to the public about Native Americans? And what's a person like me who maybe does not have a lot of understanding or education of the culture, what are you trying to get out to the community?
That a large stereotype that Native Americans used to face and still occasionally face, I've never personally faced it myself, but I know of people that have, is that Native Americans were horrible people back during the English settlements and they were savages, but in reality, it was just a dispute over land. English settlers wanted it, Native Americans had it. Things happened, genocides happened, it was a long time ago. And nowadays, people look at Native American culture and spirituality as something strange because it doesn't necessarily line up with modern Christianity. But it's just different beliefs, and it's nothing wrong or incorrect, it's just different. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that and think different is bad.
Does your initiative have partnerships? I had a very moving experience at the National Native American Museum in Washington, D.C. You might have a partner like that or other partners. Who would you envision as your partners for this entrepreneurial initiative?
Unfortunately, in eastern Kentucky, as far as I know, there aren't huge Native American organizations. Like I mentioned previously in the finances in the team section, my apologies. We hope to get an educational grant from the association that gives grants to Native American-owned businesses to help them further things along. We hope to have them as one of our partners. We cannot guarantee it, but we really strive to.
Hey, Damon, you started your presentation talking about the unemployment here in this part of the state. To Ron's point about partnerships, have you identified any partners in the workforce space that you could work with to help supply employees to your restaurant? Or, to your restaurant, I'll just leave it at that.
We've considered looking into our school's JROTC program for assistance with hiring initially, but we do plan on, through advertising via all sorts of our social medias, to bring in people that are unemployed to give them jobs. We don't necessarily have any organization in particular that we would be working with to bring in unemployed people. But that would be a thing to look into.
It would.
It would be a good thing to look into.
Tell us about your menu.
The menu.
Tell me about your menu.
With our menu, we don't have a full thing laid out, but we would be serving a lot of home-style meals that a lot of people wouldn't be able to get at a relatively cheap price for the area, because a lot of people don't really have like warm home-style meals that they can just go and get at any restaurant. But we'd also be serving a lot of native foods, such as the ones we've mentioned here, as well as a variety of foods.
My follow-up to that would be, have you all considered, and this is just ask the question, if you guys consider doing surveys, it's going to be a cost to the young people in school, but did you do surveys with adults that they wouldn't even want this type of food?
No, I don't think we did. I do not believe so. Did we?
Well, we don't, not necessarily about the food, but we did talk about would they want this type of establishment in our area.
In terms of your market, you may be looking too closely to home. I know a number of people will drive an hour, hour and a half to a restaurant that's unique like this. So you may have a larger population base to choose from. Have you looked at what your market might be, market size? Would people come from Lexington or some other areas?
We haven't looked into that, unfortunately. I'd hope people from Lexington and Louisville would see our establishment and say, wow, we have never seen anything like this before, and want to visit us. And especially with Hazard having declining businesses and things to do around there, we hope to appeal to people in surrounding counties like Pikeville and Owsley County who have even fewer things to do in their counties.
You also want to serve low-income people. There are several restaurants that do have a market for both low-income and higher income. There's a restaurant in Danville and another one in Versailles, and it's pay whatever you feel like. There are suggested retail prices, and then they also have gift certificates. So people come in with a gift certificate. The server has no idea if this was given to them at no charge, or if somebody paid for it. So you may want to look at some models like that. It's a mixture of both. But like I say, there's a restaurant in Danville and one in Versailles that are doing quite well, I think. Any thoughts about that?
Yes. Our goal is to serve low-income, middle-class families because we're middle-class families. We're not rich or anything like that. So we understand that it's hard to eat out a lot, and especially at a restaurant that has really good home-cooked meals like a Ponderosa in our town used to, that actually closed down recently, so we could hopefully fill that gap. And I love the suggestion of pay what you want to, like what you think, with suggested retail prices. It's a very good idea.
And also, it seems to me that you could have a spin-off of this. You could do a catering business and go as far as Lexington or other places that may not come to you, but you could go to them, because this is such a unique items. I don't think I can get buffalo meat or pine nut catfish in Lexington or maybe even in Louisville. So would you consider a spin-off of, like I say, a catering business that could serve a large area? And certainly people would have to pay.
Absolutely. Catering business sounds really good. And like Damien explained in our growth section, once our restaurant is on its feet and no longer in debt, we do plan to expand further, maybe up north, out west, and in different regions, as was talked about. educate about those regions, like how Bluegrass Kentucky would have different Native American history or different history in general than Eastern Kentucky or Western Kentucky would.
There's something else you may consider as tour buses with unique restaurants. We have one in Corbin. Prior to COVID, it was probably getting 3 to 4 tour buses every week coming through for lunch. Really boosts their lunch, it makes the restaurant very successful not because they have very good food, don't get me wrong, but it's because of the unique dining experience within the restaurant. And if you can create that for Native Americans, it's something else you may want to consider.
Absolutely. And even if people end up,
Sorry, that's it. Okay, we'll go into the Q&A on the model.
So, we decided to build our model in Minecraft here. And sorry. Does this work? Okay. We decided to build our model in Minecraft, and though our mine site itself was a strip mine, we just wanted to do a visualization of the coal under the ground for it. You here?
Damien was the one that built our model, by the way. He's very talented with Minecraft.
Yeah, he's savvy with games and stuff, so we trusted him to do.
And he did an amazing job, I think. This is the interior of the building itself. Damien has created tables and chairs, and we did have some limitations with Minecraft, obviously, but the paintings on the walls would symbolize the pictures and artifacts that we would have in the restaurant. Our bar that we would have for the adults that would come to our establishment to drink in the later hours. Since our restaurant is relatively close to a school, we wouldn't want the bar open 24/7, so it would be later in the day. And in the back, we have the kitchen with the stoves and whatnot that would be used in the actual restaurant, some sinks.
Do we have a refrigerator here?
And yeah, the walk-in freezer that Damien made that actually functions. If you press the button on the side, food comes out. There's some fish and some meat on the side. And if you look inside of the fridge, there's stews and fish and raw mutton and chicken and pork, and just a visualization of the stuff we would keep in the restaurant. And then obviously the parking lot outside.
He also spent quite a long time building the hills or the mountain areas surrounding the restaurant itself.
Since our site has mountains on all three sides, well, two sides, and then one side of the road has a gravel road up to further strip mines that you can't see from the road and the bottom of the site.
So question for you. Was that the whole presentation?
Yes,
Okay.
that's our model.
So in this visualization, how are you depicting, or where do you depict the Native American museum part or artifacts, or how would I know when I walk into your restaurant that you have this dual theme of not only Native American food, but the educational part? I don't see that in your depictions. I want to make sure I don't miss it.
Okay, so with the limitations that Minecraft has, we can't put exactly what we would have, but most of it would be on the walls, whether in display cases or on poster type things, or with pamphlets that you can get at the entrance. With the paintings that we've put on the walls, those would sort of represent what we would have hanging up for people to read or to look at.
Damien has examples of the tribes that resided in Eastern Kentucky, the main tribes that resided, like the Cherokee, Chickasaw, Delaware, and so on. The main ones that resided here, about how long they've been here, how many people of that tribe still identify with that tribe in modern day, the foods they ate and whatnot.
Okay, it died.
While we're, get this off, while we're waiting, if you're going to do some more presentation, I just had a question. You mentioned the cost of the building, but you didn't mention any of the cost of the capital equipment, the chairs, the tables, what it takes to put a kitchen in, which is quite expensive. And in addition, what about the cost of the artifacts you're going to display?
We had a lot of the costs and stuff in our presentation, but we took too long and our time got cut off within the finances section. We had, was it $90,000
Yes,
for
things
appliances?
like utilities and furniture for each room. When I wrote the finances slide, I just grouped them together into the one big number. And as far as the artifacts go, I wouldn't swear to this, but I'm pretty sure it's illegal to sell, and you can trade, obviously. I think it's illegal to sell Native American artifacts. So with my family being indigenous, I donate some of the artifacts that we have lots of artifacts in my old father's home. I donate some of those as well. We hope that the other indigenous people in the area would see this establishment and be encouraged by it as well, to maybe donate a couple things to be displayed in the restaurant. Obviously, nobody would be allowed to touch these artifacts because they're easily breakable, but.
Any cleanup required for the site?
Not really. When we went to take pictures, we went up on the road that was there to get a good aerial view of the site. It's very large and it's relatively flat. There's maybe one section that requires some rocks to be hauled out, but they're very small rocks and the cost would be very minimal. The site's also big enough to incorporate other businesses in there if other entrepreneurs wish to see our business and see the open land as an opportunity. It's a very large site.
So I'm going to ask the same question I asked the last group. So what type of community amenities could you put in there or thought about?
Like we said, I think Damien mentioned it, we plan to have, hopefully, indigenous peoples would be excited to come into the restaurant and talk about their experiences as a Native person and their cultures with their family or whatnot. And as far as our establishment goes, that's about the only community element we have. But like we said, we hope to have other restaurants move in, and perhaps they could have the influence of community on the place, like the Daniel Boone Plaza has. That's not far from us.
In terms of events, are the Delaware still exists, that tribe? And where are they if you wanted to have them do let's say, a Delaware event?
Pinpointing exactly where tribes still currently live in Eastern Kentucky is next to near impossible because actual tribes don't really exist anymore. It's more families like mine that are Native and still practice their traditions that their ancestors did to keep that sense of culture. So they're really scattered all over Kentucky and Virginia, lots of in Virginia and West Virginia and Tennessee and all those places. But there's no current tribes like there was a long time ago.
I think the Cherokee might still have reservations.
Yes, there are reservations. There still are many reservations in our state and the surrounding states.
I'm familiar with the site. I've been on the site. Something that may have helped your presentation a whole lot is just take a drone picture of where the Daniel Boone Plaza was relative to this site and an overview of this site, because where the school is, which is just across the road, and some of the other businesses that are now popping up just across the road, it would have been very helpful if you were making a presentation to anybody else in the room. Just a comment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The closest I did have to that, when my grandpa took me, we came up to the site, and I have pictures of the road, like the fence that was leading up to it. You could see the school in the background, but we did not think to get a shot of the plaza relative to where the site is, but that's a very good idea.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right, so we're here with Perry County Central High School, here to learn more about their idea. So how did you all come up with your idea? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, it started out as Vincent's not here at the moment, Vincent and Damien proposing we did some sort of restaurant idea, while me and Alex had the idea of some sort of educational type thing for Eastern Kentucky. So eventually we got inspiration from restaurants like Ponderosa and Cracker Barrel to combine the aspects of an educational museum with a restaurant.
And I think it's so important in Eastern Kentucky. We don't have a lot of the cultural, culinary experiences as, most big cities. So what inspired you sort of on like the food side to start a restaurant?
In regards to food, you said?
Just what inspired you to start the restaurant?
Well, with the restaurant, we were thinking, a lot of people haven't had these foods before. They're rather unique to this area. And so we thought we could take these foods and bring them to Kentucky, bring them into the light, let some people try some foods they've never had before, and they may enjoy them and may come back.
We don't get a lot of, unusual foods around here anyway, as it is. We don't have a lot of variety in our area for things that we can eat. I think the most unusual thing we have is fazoli's, and that's just Italian.
And we noticed that you were the only group that used Minecraft as a way to do your physical model, or your virtual model rather. So tell us about the process on how you built that model using Minecraft.
That's all him.
That was all Damien. He was the model.
So it started off with just the world creation in itself. I mean, I initially made it as a standard world, but realized it would be very difficult to terraform all of that with the mountains and things, which it would have made it look a lot nicer, admittedly, but it would have taken a much longer time. So I decided to stick with a super flat world and just build the mountains and hills around it. And so I made the world. I dug a hole and went from there. And we came up with this mine shaft kind of thing, built from hand and a lot of explosives. And we made it to the surface where I built the building. And after a few iterations, we've got the model.
You had to redo the building, didn't you?
A few iterations.
Trial and error, yeah.
I burned out a few things.
So it looked like it probably took you several days and hours and maybe even months to build that. So just tell us a little bit about how long it took you to build that model virtually.
Well, for the actual mine shaft itself, going up to the building, it took, I want to say, around a week or two, getting all the detailing, the lighting, and things of the sort, as well as we had a few issues with the rails and things. But for the building itself, I'd just say it took around 3 weeks of work, because again, as I've said, there were a few different versions of it with different types of wood, experimenting and things of that nature, and they were a lot smaller. This one's the bigger and significantly better variant of it, I'd say.
So we're still awaiting the awards presentation, but what's next for this project? If you win or if you don't win, are you going to still pursue it, or What's next on the agenda for this concept?
Regardless of if we pursue the restaurant itself, we'd still probably want to find a way to educate about this subject, because things like the commercialization of Native American culture in itself is horrible, and they don't deserve that, because these things are so sacred to them that we want to teach people about them without them using it as decoration and stuff, along with like the foods and the stereotype that they are savages or something. We want to try to get rid of that as much as we can in the area, so we want to try to educate still, even if we don't turn it into a restaurant museum thing.
Very cool. And I noticed you all had a lot of passion about the Native American culture, so can you talk a little bit about that and where that kind of comes from?
My family's Native. My grandmother, 100%. Her family, they're all Native. My dad's side. My grandma's side of the family, they're 50% Native. And on my dad's side, they're very in touch with their culture. Especially my grandparents on my dad's side, they've always kept me in touch with our culture and like spirituality and certain rituals that are performed certain types of the year. And the food, that's where a lot of the influence of the food came from, is traditional Native American dishes, as Damien mentioned. And Native American culture, it's so beautiful if you really look at it, because it's so nature-based and it's so soul-based that it's a very beautiful concept to look at, and it may differ from like Christianity, but it's not a bad difference. It's a very good difference, I think.
Well, I hope you all continue to pursue this dream. Really good idea and concept, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so we're here with the Perry County Central High School coach for the team, Joe Collins. So appreciate you being here today. I'm sure that you feel a ton of pride in your team being up there pitching today. So how do you feel, and what's sort of next?
Well, I'm very proud of my team, just like you said, because they are so young. We've seen a lot of seniors and juniors up there on the stage today, and my group is all freshmen and sophomores. So it was just a great experience for them to go up there and get that public speaking experience, learn a little bit about entrepreneurialism, and really do something they're completely unfamiliar with. So they've still got several years ahead of them in school, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with all this.
That's awesome. And I thought something that was really unique is that they used Minecraft as a way to do their virtual model. So talk through that a little bit, and did you have some involvement with that? Was it the students' idea? How did that come about?
So I had no involvement at all with the Minecraft idea. One of my students is very heavily involved in game design and things like that, and they said, this is a coal-themed competition. We're viewing a coal mining site. Why don't we build that out in Minecraft? And I said, that's a great idea. I don't know anything about it, so you take it and you run with it, and it turned out really well. So I'm really pleased with the work they put in on that.
So we're still awaiting the awards presentation to see who placed or not. But if they don't place or if they do place, what's next for this project?
So we actually run an internship program through the Challenger Learning Center, and I'm very hopeful that I'll continue to see these same students for the years to come. I definitely plan on working on some public speaking activities, really getting them comfortable in a professional environment to where they can come back year after year, and even once they move out of school and become proper adults, really bringing home those skills that are being developed here today.
That's awesome. And talk about ECLRP and the experience that you all have had going through this project and pitch competition. What's the experience been like working with John and his team?
The experience has been absolutely fantastic. So many of our students these days have no real public speaking experience. They just cannot get in front of a group of people. They can't go up on stage. So being able to do that here is a great experience for them. It's a great way for them to learn. And just on top of that, all of the entrepreneurial skills they develop, all of the business skills. My students had no idea how much went into developing and running a business, and now they do. So I think that's a great mark of success for this program. It really shows you that this is a meaningful experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other last comments for the video?
I don't think so, not unless you've got something for me.
I'm good.